Hi everybody, welcome to our 4 o'clock live. I am here with the amazing Benji Love. How are you, Benji?
Fantastic.
Thank you for being here. So first question, Love, is that really your last name?
It is not really my last name,
okay.
and it's funny. What happened was, when I got sober and I felt like, it was a new beginning, being reborn, and I was reborn. So it just fit. And so, in fact, my name was Benjamin.
Okay.
And so I wanted everything new. I wanted this complete fresh start.
Yeah.
So I went with Benji Love.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I like my last name, Leone, but I like the idea of like having that clean slate, the name, and it's just like a really good name. Like everyone remembers your name. It's like Benji Love. Yeah, you gotta be somebody if you're Benji Love.
Yeah.
So I don't know you that well. We've met a few times. I've seen some stuff you've done. It's really impressive. You have a lot going on. You have for a long time. You're very well respected in the treatment industry and just in the recovery world. And I want to get to know you, and I want people out there to get to know you and be inspired by you, and you can say some things that hopefully motivate some people out there in social media land. So I'd like to go back, and let's go back to how this all began.
Yeah.
So for you, taking us back, way back when this journey started with your addiction, what did that look like?
My journey, it happened the very moment I stepped out of my house to play. That very moment, that was the start, because, I grew up, in a primarily white town, a small town, and, when I was, watching TV as a kid, you see just, white families and the Brady Bunch and all this, and I was just confused, I was just, why am I brown?
Yeah.
But when I went outside to play, and you have all your neighbors and everyone's just white, I was just immediately uncomfortable in my own skin, just immediately, and that's all my destructive attitudes, behaviors. It all started, when I was that kid, because all I wanted as a kid was to be accepted, right? And the kids in the neighborhood, they didn't accept me because, who's this little, Asian kid? They always called me, my nickname was like the Dirty Indian.
Oh, wow.
And then in my home life, in my house, my parents, were immigrants. They immigrated here from the Philippines. So their idea of love was, showing, giving me financial stability, They didn't love, we didn't have any love. There were no hugs or I love you. It was, it was almost like they were just, their idea of love was providing for us. And so they were super strict. We didn't have a voice or an opinion. A lot of their discipline was very physical and mental and psychological. And so I didn't have any love for my parents. I did have cousins across the bridge, but they're a straight out Filipino living in the city, and they considered me whitewashed.
So you couldn't win either way.
It was just this little boy that was just seeking attention, seeking love, looking for it in the neighborhood, looking for it in my house, looking for my cousins, but I wasn't getting any,
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So how did you get into using? What did that look like? What was the first time?
Well, you have to go back to that kid, right?
Yeah.
And I had a problem, My problem was I wanted to be liked, right? I wanted to fit in. So growing up, I was just bullied. It was just constant bullied, made fun of, teased. Our house was always vandalized. It was rough. It was a rough, these kids were ruthless, right? But no matter how ruthless these kids were, my parents were twice as worse. It was just like, there was no escape from it.
Yeah.
So at a young, early age, it was crazy how the psychology works. I saw the bullying and teasing, it started to flip as a means, oh, wait a minute, if they're laughing at me and they're making fun of me, they're accepting me. So I embraced that role. You know, I became this actor at a young age. I embraced it. I embraced being that token Asian kid. And so I allowed the bullying to happen. I allowed, you know, the teasing, and I would just laugh about it. Ah, ha, ha, you know, they'd make fun of me. I'd laugh about it. Allow them to just, you know, do these crazy pranks on me. And as time went, you know, obviously I'm laughing about it, but it crushed me. Right? It crushed me. But you involve alcohol and drugs into that mix. Right when, you know, I had that first drink, it was like, you know, I felt normal, you know? I felt accepted. And, you know, all that, you know, that bullying and teasing, it just, you know, it didn't matter. You know, I felt a part of, I felt normal. For the first time in my life, I felt normal when I started drinking. And I was part of this, you know, this crew of all these people that are drinking and partying. And so in my early teens, you know, that's how it all started. And, you know, I felt bold, I felt courageous, you know, and it was the new me.
And it makes complete sense why you would go in that direction, because you're playing this character.
Yeah.
Like I'm listening to what you're saying, and it's like you became this character. You became this AKA, essentially, and having that shield around you with, it's okay, you know, I'm just gonna laugh this off, and then you have the alcohol that's soothing you, and you feel like you're able to get these things that you've been lacking, when really, as you reflect back, like your sense of self and who you were, it must have just been getting completely buried. Could you see your true self in your teen years, or were you just...
Absolutely not. I didn't want to see my true self.
You didn't see yourself
I wanted
at all.
nothing to do.
Nothing at all.
I wanted nothing to do with that kid. I just wanted to be this prankster, funny guy, you know, everyone wanted to hang out because he's so funny. He's always wasted. He's always high. You know, I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be this character I created.
Right.
And that's who I became. And
that was your identity.
That was my identity. You know, I didn't know who I was. You know, and I didn't. Frankly, I was running from that. You know, that kid. I was ashamed of that kid. I was embarrassed of that kid. I was ashamed of my parents, and I wanted nothing to do with my parents, my family. I just wanted to be this character I created, and it's, you know, alcohol and the drugs really just, it was my superpower.
So what was the dynamic like with your family as that started happening into your teen years? Did they see it? Did you rebel? Were you taken off?
You know, I became that master manipulator at that kid, you know. Did they have an idea? Not really, because I was lying, cheating, manipulating, because I knew how to keep it going. You had to lie. I had to cheat, you know. Like, my parents had no clue because I was so good at being that actor, right? I had to do semi-good at school, you know, otherwise, you know, they would cut me off or ground me. So I did work hard. They gave me a work ethic. I knew if I worked hard, I could keep the party going. And that's what I did. You know, did I work hard? No, I cheated. I cheated on every single test. I got nothing, you know, out of school. I cheated and lied again and manipulated my way through everything. So at an early age, they had no clue. Obviously, they'd catch me a couple times, punish me. But, you know, as you get caught, you learn how to, you know, trick them another way.
So when you were a teenager and you were in those moments of just being by yourself, whether it was in the mornings or late at night, and you go back to that space of being that 16-year-old, what was that like for you when you were just by yourself? What was that conversation you'd have with yourself?
Wow, that just gave me the goosebumps, because, you know, I was miserable. I was just crying out for help, you know. I would always be crying, you know. I would be in my room wishing, for, you know, popularity, and just wishing for, you know, this amazing girlfriend, wishing for a different life, you know, and I just was, when I was on my own, I was just in despair. I was just so empty. And, you know, and then again, you walk out the doors, you start drinking, and you're just like filled again. But being at home, as that youth, I was miserable.
Extreme highs and lows, and I think that's the case for so many people, and people that could be watching right now, especially with depression and suicide, and you know, they play this character, and oh, I'm happy, and oh, this, and then they go home, and in those quiet moments when they're by themselves, that's how they truly feel, you know, and it's scary and it's sad for the people that are out there like that. What would you say to a youngster that's at home and they're sitting in that space? What kind of encouraging words or support would you say?
Well, when you're in, this is like how when I still go home, because my parents still live in the house I grew up with, I still feel the ghosts when I'm in there. I still feel that pain. And if I were to talk to someone that came up to me and is feeling that pain, you know, that pain is real, number one.
Right, it's valid.
That is valid. That pain is real. But it doesn't, it clouds, you know, your thoughts. And let me give you an example of that. If you smash your finger in the car door, you know, and you're in extreme pain, and I asked you, when's your birthday? And you'd say, you can't think right, you can't think clear, all you can think about is that pain. And that's what that depression, that's what that depression is, it's pain. So if someone's asking me, and if I could to give hope to a kid that's at home that's feeling that pain, I would tell them that they are loved. They are loved, and, you know, seek help, right? Don't hide it, because it only will get worse. You need to talk to someone, because, you know, when you're down and you're in that despair, your mind's going to be lying to you. It's going to be lying to you. It's going to tell you that you're not loved. It's going to tell you that, you know, no one loves you, you're unlovable, you're worthless. That's your mind talking to you, right? To get out of that, you need to seek help, because when you're in that moment, you know, it's on your own, it's not going to be, it's going to be hard to come out of that on your own.
Absolutely. And I kind of went through the same thing, just in a different way, and like a lot of us do when we're young. And for me and a lot of other people, I'm sure, they feel like they can't relate.
Yeah.
No one has it like me. I'm so special in that sense. I have it so bad. No one else has it like this. And you feel so alone in that space, like nobody could understand.
Yeah.
And like, I wish I could just grab every person and go, there's others like you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's a whole community of us, and we listen and we understand, and it's relatable, and we don't judge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah. Okay, so moving forward. So this happened for several years. What was your lowest point? I mean, I know there's lots of low points, but what sticks out for you before you got sober? When you think about when you were in your addiction and you were at a really low point, what did that look like for you?
Well, you know, throughout, you know, the span of me using, there were a lot of low points, obviously, but I self-medicated that right out. But there's still that journey, you know, I went through. You know, I did graduate from high school. I cheated my way through it. I did graduate from college, which is a blur because I was on every drug imaginable. And then in my adulthood, I worked in Hollywood, right? Where you were accepted for, you know, your drug use.
So what'd you do in Hollywood? Tell everybody.
So in order for me to get to the recovery part, I got to continually tell you the suffering. So I get it, you know, I get a job in Hollywood. My first job straight out of college was at MTV.
Okay. Straight
up. So, you know, and you take an addict and put in, and especially someone that has no identity, no self-worth, someone who's seeking fulfillment from popularity, fame, and money, you take that person and put them in Hollywood, and it's just like, adding fuel to the fire.
That was me too. So
Yeah,
I
right.
understand. Yes.
Yes. So, yeah,
Recipe for disaster.
it was well. It didn't start out
Slow
as a disaster.
progression.
It was a slow
Yes,
progression. You know,
I hear you.
I worked my butt off, so I was respected. But you know, that hole I had, that whole empty hole, the way I filled it, that empty hole, was by seeking, you know, popularity, to be cool, to be liked, to be loved. So I was smoking weed with Snoop, you know, back then, you know, I shouldn't name names.
No,
but,
go ahead. Go ahead.
But like, but I was just having who I was. That little kid was just so far gone because I wanted to be something else. You know, I wanted to be this cool kid, this hanging out with the celebrities, and I worked hard to achieve that. You know, and it was great. I was living a dream. I should have been extremely happy. You know, I was partying with celebrities. You know, I had a boat. I lived in Hermosa Beach. I owned a boat in Marina Del Rey. I bought a yoga studio. I was very successful, and I was able to manage my addiction. Not really manage it because the money was going all over the place, but I was just living everything I had ever hoped and dreamed for was happening. But yet, the alone time, I was miserable.
Yeah.
I was just filling this hole with all this counterfeit. You know, I'm friends with this person, you know, this person likes me, I have this money, I have this house, I have these cars. I was just filling this hole, and it was just seeping right out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It brings you down deeper and deeper because
Deeper.
I have the same story.
Yeah.
And it's like those material things that they gave at the time felt so much worth,
Yeah.
you know, in these people. And it wasn't until much later that I realized that they just liked me for this character that I played.
Yeah.
No one really knew me, and that was like a really lonely place for
Yeah.
me. So I hear what you're saying.
Absolute character. Like nobody really knew me, and
Yeah.
everyone would have thought I was this happy, cool guy.
Yeah, he's got it all. He's
Yeah.
prime of his life and all these things.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Well, it was fun till it wasn't. You know, I started to slip. You know, start losing all my money. You know, you're going to these clubs, you're tipping $100 tips to everyone, losing money. I was a gambler, so I started, you know, gambling away my money. I sold my yoga studio, made a ton of money, but you know, the addiction had taken hold, where you know, no matter how much I took, no matter how much I used, that hole was just emptying, and I was just getting more miserable, more depressed, you know, isolating when I wasn't out, and it started to crumble. It started to crumble all around me, where I couldn't get up and go to work. You know, I was doing cocaine, you know, right on my bed. I was doing cocaine at work, but it's just, I needed more, but it wasn't giving me that oomph. It wasn't giving me that normalcy. It was just, no matter how much I took, I was still in pain. What it did do, it was, you know, it made me think, you know, okay, this would be better. I'm just gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. You know, I'll give you an example. You know, I start losing, you know, I lost my house. You know, okay, you know, just, you know, pop a pill, do a line, you know, have, you know, a lot of vodka, and then, you know, okay, all right, you know, I'll get back on my feet, you know. I start to lose my friends. It's all right, you know, take some oxy, you know, do a line, and then, you know, okay, you know, I can make more friends. You know, lose my job. Same thing, you know, get wasted, do some coke, you know,
Yeah.
I could find another job around the mountain and around the mountain. until, one day, I woke up and I was on a friend's couch because I was homeless. And it was, mind you, this is years and years and years.
Years of it, like well over
20, 15, 20 years to do this. And then I woke up, I remember it like it was yesterday, and I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I just woke up and I was done. I was done with the lies. I was done with the guilt. I was done with the shame. And I said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I'm going to kill myself today. I'm going to kill myself today.
And what did that look like?
It just, once I woke up and made that decision, I just had the devil just lying in my head, just whispering, no one will love you. No one loves you. You're worthless. You're better off dead. No one's gonna miss you. And it starts to suffocate you, where you just can't breathe, you can't get out of it. So I remember, walking to the beach, with no plan, just thinking, I can't live anymore. I can't live. And you have these voices. And by then I didn't even have a penny in my pocket. So I couldn't go, I couldn't go and drown it out and try to self-medicate. Yeah. So those voices were just whispering, just do it, just do it. Nobody loves you. Nobody loves you. And, I get to the beach and I find, a bottle on the ground, and I broke it, and, I found a little isolated area by the beach, and I called my brother and I told him, I'm going to kill myself today and tell mom and dad I love them. And he was shocked. Again, the actor I've been. He's like, you have a great life.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And I said, I'm sorry. Tell him I love him. Hung up on him. Went into my Facebook account and put my suicide letter on Facebook. And then, I took my phone and I just hucked it into the ocean, my wallet, hucked it into the ocean, sat down just with the voices in my head saying I'm worthless and just wanting to be done with it. And I did it, You
cut yourself?
3 times. It wasn't a cry for help.
Yeah, no,
I went in
with every intention.
Every intention, and I went in 3 times. I completely tore 3 times, and I start to I just remember sitting down and I'm just crying, and my life started to flash in front of me.
What did you see?
It was from beginning to end, being born, to birthdays, to my grandma holding me, to riding a bike, holding hands with my dad, just flashes, flash, 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 flash. And it got slower till it went all black.
And then you're obviously here, so what happened?
Well, I woke up, going looking straight up. I was in a gurney and I was being banged around hallways. And, to this day, I don't know why, but I was handcuffed, one wrist was handcuffed to the gurney, and I just kept on hearing, what's your name? What's your name? You're going to be okay. Because I didn't want to be, identified. And so I'm just coming in and out of consciousness. All I could just see are the lights above me and just being rammed around, an occasional face over my head. But in my mind, I thought, I watched a lot of movies. I thought I was in hell. I thought I was because for sure I was dead.
Oh, wow.
So I was just thinking, okay, I'm going to relive this over and over for eternity. So I'm just, I'm just not saying anything. I'm just going through this. I'm all, okay, I guess I'm in hell, And it wasn't until I woke up, in the operating room, and then I had 2 friends that found me. And I made eye contact with one of my friends, and she started crying. And I go, oh no, I survived.
So it was an oh no, not a thank God.
It was
at that point.
It was an OF.
Yeah.
It was an.
Yeah.
I basically said I survived.
And from that day forward, did you still use after that, or was that the moment that you stopped, or did it still continue after that for some time?
So, you got to imagine I wanted out of this life.
Yeah.
So now I'm dealing with my friends who are there, who I thought no one loved me, by the way.
Right.
And then I have friends there by my bedside.
And now they see you.
And now they see me.
Really see you.
They see me in pain,
Yeah.
and they're just crying. They're both just crying. And how they found me, which is interesting, is because remember, nobody loved me, right? That's what I was telling myself. That's what the lies were happening in my head. Nobody loved me. When I put that suicide letter on Facebook, well, everyone got together and started forming search parties.
Oh, wow.
And the job I had got fired at was a job that's, that time I worked at, I'm just gonna name the name, Equinox Fitness. And they were, they're open 365 days every day. They closed down and they had search parties. Everybody was like looking for me, but nobody loved me, remember? And
sickness, yeah.
Nobody loved me. And the two people that were there were friends that happened to be a wife of a firefighter and then a wife of a doctor. And then when I ended up there, they said, this person matches your description, you should come down. And, that's how they found me, but nobody loved me, remember?
Yeah.
And so they saw I was just sitting there, just obviously written, just filled with guilt.
Yeah.
Number one, they're showing me, how everyone was looking. Now I feel ashamed of what I've done. And now what I'm thinking is, how am I going to get out of here to finish the job? I don't want to feel this, see this, or hear this. Yeah, especially I'm sitting there and I'm sober, so I'm feeling emotions for the first time in my life, like emotions without being able to draw. Now I'm just
completely overwhelmed.
Completely overwhelmed, and my parents show up the next day. My brothers show up. To look at my brother's eyes, they couldn't even look at me. They had no idea. No idea as to why I would do something like that, and they just couldn't say anything. They didn't know how to talk to me. I had to see my parents cry for the first time in my life, so that situation right there started to make me feel like I had to get better for them because all the pain I caused. All the pain I caused them, it was just, I just had this overwhelming guilt and shame that, I couldn't do that to them again. I couldn't have them go through this again. And so, all my, mind you, recovery, therapy, it just wasn't part of my world back then. So, my friends and then my parents, they got together and they were able to figure it out and get me into treatment. And that's where my journey really began, and it really actually began in that psych ward. I was in there for almost 3 weeks. They wouldn't let me out because obviously they knew my plan. But I just remember the first night being there. This little suburban kid had a great life at this Vita Ratchy psych ward, and I just remember the very first night, just the darkness and the screaming and just the moaning from the other patients, and I'm just sitting there, and I had to put the pillow over my head, and it's like, how the heck did I get here? Yeah. It became real. That first night by myself with a roommate, I remember to this day, that it was real. It just was like, what have I done? How did I get here?
It's that desperation
Yeah.
and surrender, but not really knowing what that looked like, but at least seeing it within yourself.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing here? This isn't me,
Yeah.
but I'm here. And man, yeah, that journey just beginning at that point. I can only imagine what it felt like with all your friends and family not knowing this about you, and having, in a sense, it after you got through that initial stage, it must have been freeing a little bit. When did it get to the point where it was like freeing that you weren't putting on this show anymore? When did that happen, where you could go, I can just be me now?
Obviously, there's a lot of steps to that journey, right? You get into, I get into treatment, which felt like high school all over again. I'm this new kid wanting to fit in, which I absolutely felt like I didn't fit in. So to answer your question, I could say it was that first AA meeting we went to, because obviously there's points where I still wanted to finish the job. There are points where I still wanted to use. But when I got to that AA meeting, and I heard people speak, and people loved on me, and people were just were listening to me for the first time in my life. Right there, I didn't feel alone.
And you allowed them to listen to you.
And I cried, and they hugged me. I would cry again. They'd tell me it's okay. I just never experienced that fellowship before. And because I've been hiding it for so long, thinking no one's like me. And then, I start to learn, I'm not alone. And that was the change. Even though I was in treatment, they took us to, that was my aha moment. And through AA, I was able to, surrender and admit my life had become unmanageable, and I gave my life to God, and I was, from my higher power, I identify my higher power as Jesus, and I got baptized. And that process of getting baptized and being into treatment, I call it the platter plate. I found God, the fellowship, and the treatment, all that together, and I started to slowly, I call it the butterfly effect. It's the butterfly coming out of the cocoon. I'm out of the cocoon, but my wings were still wet, and I just really had to learn how to fly again and how to live this new life. But that's how it started for me. It started really in AA, and then I gave my life to God, and it started to turn around for me.
One day at a time.
One day at a time, which seemed like an eternity back then.
Of course.
Yeah,
of
but
course.
because once I got out of myself, because everything Benji wanted to do, everything Benji did, it just got me into trouble. But once I, gave my life to the Lord and gave my life to God and let God live through me, in me, and all around me, the day got brighter. It got brighter. And, that light I had as a little kid, it started, as I peeled the layers, the light would just come out and peel more layers through therapy and fellowship, and the light started to come out, and then I started, that kid I was hiding from my entire life, I started to be that kid again. I feel, to this day, I feel like a kid, I feel awake, I'm awake and I'm alive. And there was a time when I wanted to take a time machine and, take a left and right, but every single moment, everything I went through in my life, there was a purpose for it, and I wouldn't I'm so grateful for it. I wouldn't give it up.
Yeah. I feel the same way too.
Yeah.
It has molded you into the person you are today.
Absolutely.
What do you think you learned the most about yourself through going through recovery?
The most I learned about myself really was, that I was seeking love from others, but really what I learned, is that what was really important to me was to love others for the first time. And I discovered, within me that I had a purpose. I had purpose, meaning, and hope, which I never had. I was just wandering around aimlessly. And to discover that I did have a purpose, I did have meaning, I was able to give hope. That's what I learned about myself. I learned that I was on this earth for a reason,
So with that purpose and hope, let's switch now into what you're doing now. Motivate some people out there. So let's talk about all the wonderful things that you do now in recovery. What do you do for service work? How do you help others? What does your life look like today?
Well, I hit my knees every single morning still, and I'm just so grateful.
It's been how long? And you still?
5 years.
5 years, and you feel you're going to do that every day, no matter what. That is part of your.
5 years ago, I was on that beach and I asked for death, and what happened? I was given life. And now through this, this whole journey, I could share that light with people in the darkness. I could let them know, not to give up on hope, and to have faith. And just tell my story. Listen, I'm living a life right now today that I didn't think was possible. Just filled with love, peace, and joy every day. And that's what I do now. I work at, just like you, I work in treatment. And for my job, every day, I could help bring hope to someone's life. And that's what I get to do for my job every day. And I'm creative, I'm creative of how I could reach people, so, I work at a nonprofit treatment center, which is fantastic. It's in Pasadena. It's called the Gooden Center. And they allow me, to do whatever I can, to go out there and bring awareness. I also volunteer for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. I just want to, whatever I can do to spread that light, I'm going through every avenue resource that's given to me. So, we started a comedy show, which I have 2 comedians. I'm not the comedian, I MC, but I do tell jokes. I think I'm funny, but I'm probably not funny. But, we travel to different cities that have big recovery populations. We stick around for a couple of days, and then we go to all the meetings. Hey, listen, we're doing this comedy show Friday night. You gotta come.
That. Yeah.
Just come. Skip your AA meeting tonight and just have some healing through laughter. And it's full on rated R. And it's.
Then everyone must love it.
I'm telling you. Because we hit 5 cities in like 2 months. So some of their skits are the same, but I'm dying laughing every time. And you look around and you see people that have just got into treatment, and just to see them laugh, and laugh about their pain, and it's just it's so magical, and so. I just do whatever I can. I'm in service, 24/7. My phone is on 24/7, and I live my life. I have 2 things that are absolutely important to me. I love God and I love others, and that's it. And that's it. And if I could do that every day, you know, I could sleep at night. And so I don't take days off, you know. I just I survive for a reason. And there's so many people, as you know, that are just suffering right now.
Yeah.
And if I could do my part, and you do your part, and each little light we see, we could just make the world a whole lot brighter. And so I commend you for your work you do. And
likewise.
And, yeah.
So let me ask you this. So when you were a kid and you were alone and you would have these horrible thoughts, and as you got older too, it carried through. So now with everything that you have going on in your life, all the positive things, the purpose, the hope, the life, when you lay your head down at night, what do you think? What is your heart filled with? If you could articulate that, what does that look like?
It still feels like a dream. It does not feel real, you know, and I have those thoughts all the time. It's just, I can't believe it. I have all my taxes done for the first time in my life. I'm organized, I'm structured, I have faith. And when I lay about this, I feel it's just, what's funny is, you know, you go through in life, you still have, you know, I still get jealousy, I still get anger, you know, I'm human, I have those feelings and emotions, but I go to sleep at night, I could take inventory of that, and then I could wake up in the morning and start fresh.
Yes.
And have a fresh day, and I just didn't have that before. And, you know, I just really feel, you know, I'm not into politics and all this. I don't get into, you know, all the politics of life, but what I can do every single day is be loving and kind. Every single day. And if I could do that, I'm making the world a better place. And
amen to that.
Yeah, and
be
so
loving and kind.
That's
what we all need to do more of.
Yeah.
So tell everybody the places that you work, any information on them, how they can get a hold of you. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to reach out.
So I'm on social media. You can find me on Facebook under Benji Love. On Instagram under Benji Love 24/7.
That's right.
And I work at the Gooden Center. Our website is thegoodencenter.org. It's a nonprofit treatment center. And I tell you, I am of service. I give my phone number out, and I always give my phone number out. It's 949-501-1242. If you're hurt or you're struggling, give me a call. We'll just talk. You know, I'd love to meet you for a coffee, just hang out, and, you know, I'll listen, you know, and call me if you're ever in pain and or you want to hang out. You know, I'm always of service.
Thank you so much. You are remarkable. You truly are. You have this amazing energy about you, and I truly believe that everything you say you actually do, and that you will answer your call. A lot of people say that, but you will answer your call late at night. You will go meet people. You're selfless in that space just to spread that hope and kindness. So thank you for being you, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
How inspiring. Amazing. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.